like the name of the client, the name of the project, the length of the video, and something like this. And sometimes I have to cut this leader, and then I want to transcode the media in a specific format with adding a suffix to specify the kind of workflow the file that needs to follow. And then sometimes I want to add the date, so there's a timestamp for the file when I send it to the client. So I embedded all the stuff in only one place, and this is my app. It's very fast app because once you specify a workflow, then in the main screen there are a lot of tiles. Each tile represents a workflow, and then you drag all the files, all the media files, on this tile, and then the transcoding starts immediately without asking anything. And then after the transcoding is ended, the files are put in a subfolder or in a folder or renamed and something like this. It's very fast because when I export a movie, I don't want to stop what I'm thinking about and do a context switch and then think, oh, what I have to do with this file. Then I have this great rectangle in my app with a color code and a tag name, and so I know that if this file is for this specific client with this specific settings and something like this, I just have to drag the file here, and then everything will be good. This was the reason I started thinking about this app. And then when I started with audio files and not with the video files because that was a little simpler. But meanwhile, I added a lot of little features that help me in doing all my stuff. For example, if you drag a video file onto an image setting, an image workflow, then a screen will appear, and a screen will appear, and it asks you which frame do you want to convert, which frames do you want to convert, and then you can select all the frames, and then you press continue, and all the frames are saved as a JPEG or PNG files. It's very fast when you need to put a poster on YouTube and you want a specific frame, and then with this app you can choose very easily and fast the frame you want.
So how do you choose the frame? Do you put a marker on it, or how does that work?
If you want to select just one frame, you have to put yourself. There's a little timeline. You put yourself on the specific frame and then press continue. But if you click on the central icon in the lower part, then a little poster a little image is drawn in the lower part of the window, so you can see which frame you have selected, and you can add other frames very easily, tapping very simple button, or you can delete them clicking on the X.
Now, what engine are you using to do the encoding? Is it Apple's?
I use two engines for the easiest part for ProRes files and easy MPEG files, MPEG-4 files. And for H.265, I use Apple engine. But if you want something more pristine or to handle other format, I use the FFmpeg library. I observed that when you use a very low data rate, FFmpeg library brings you a very, very higher quality.
So you use? How do you determine which one you're using? Does the application decide?
Yes, the application decide. When you select MPEG-4 with the one pass, that is the default. It uses Apple, that is very, very fast because it uses the integrated CPU or GPU. If you have an M1 Macintosh, it's super fast. Or if you have, like me, MacBook Pro 2019, it has the T2 coprocessor. It does this. Right. It does a 4K in real time. But when you select two passes, then automatically the application switches to FFmpeg, and the encoding is very, very slow, but the quality is astonishing in comparison.
So one of the things that the Apple team told us when we had, they were at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit last year, and I think it was last year in 2020. And they said to use for the Apple Silicon Macs, use one pass encoding because it's hardware encoding.
Yes. Well, one-pass encoding is quite good for all the most application for most fun results. But I have one client who needs a very, very, very small files. Let's say sometimes he asks me 15 megabyte files for a 3-minute video.
Wow.
I swear it. Sometimes I say it's not possible, but sometimes I have to produce a very, very, very small files with a long duration. And then I decrease the resolution to 720p. And then I use the dual pass with a very, 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 very slow encoding time. And it takes sometimes 5 to 10 times the duration of the video. If the video is 1 minute long, it takes 5 to 10 minutes to encode, but the quality, in my opinion, is far, far superior with these low data rates than the compressor.
Okay, so by the way, we're on YouTube. I got while you've been talking, I put us on YouTube. So we haven't really, people that are on YouTube, we haven't really discussed that much yet. We're just talking about the app itself. We haven't given any of the copies away yet. We're going to give away 5 copies today. And then I got another show tomorrow. We're going to give away 5 copies then. So, which is thanks to Alex. I mean, he's being very generous, giving copies away to listeners and stuff. So we'll be doing that.
I think this is called marketing.
No, you're absolutely correct. But it's good marketing, right? It's good marketing.
Well, all the apps I ever done was developed for myself first. I needed something that wasn't outside. And so I say, okay, I am a director, I'm an editor, I'm a lot of stuff, but sometimes I even a developer, a software developer. And so I can start doing something that can help me in doing my job. And then I clean it up, I polish it until it reach a state that can be used by other people. And that's the reason I developed this app. And it's still going in development because every day I say, okay, let's add this feature, and then I build the app, and then I put it in auto update. I added a feature just this morning, and the app has been updated this noon.
So we're on your site right now. How many do you have? You have over a dozen apps, right?
Yeah.
20?
Something like 15. 5 or 6 are utilities, and 6 are for specifically for Final Cut Pro. Then I have a couple apps for audio, one for audio cleanup, and one for podcast editing. And Power Size is for handling image auto cropping with machine learning. And all the stuff I developed for myself. And then sometimes I say, okay, this is quite good, I can sell it. so to sell an app, it's quite strange because I'm not going very rich with this business, but I'm paying my mortgage, and so I'm very happy. But if you put something on the market, you force yourself to make it as good as possible because it's not an internal tool. It becomes a public tool. And so if something is not clear, people ask you for, okay, this thing is not clear. Explain. And then I say to myself, okay, I have to be more clear. It's a teaching lesson every day, putting something on the market to be like a very small developer like me. And then I have to think about marketing, producing tutorials, all this stuff.
Yeah, marketing's a large part of everything. But I guess you do very useful apps, and you do a lot of apps that are geared towards Final Cut Pro. You do a lot of apps towards audio, like you said, you have podcasts, you have a podcast app to clean it up. Now, this new one, we're going to go back to the web page there. This new one is called Ulti.Media or Converter, basically what it is. And I'm going to play this video. Let me see if I can get the system audio. I think the audio will play in here. It's not playing.
And the video is a little outdated because I changed a bit the interface and I added some features. So I have to update this video with all the new stuff.
Okay. Yeah, this is, you have a lot of, you can customize, you can make like droplets like Compressor has. Is that what you do?
Yes, that's my main focus was that. I want to have a droplet. These rectangles are a droplet area. And I want to identify the droplet very, very fast, because when I'm doing something else, I don't want to stop and start thinking. One thing that I hate of Compressor, that is an app that I like a lot, is that when I want to transcode something, I have to go to the compressor, and then I have to switch to the main panel, and then I have to search the compressor setting, and then I have to drag the files, and then I have to apply this specific setting and then specific location. All this stuff is a waste of time for me. It's not a real waste of time, but it's a context switch. I have to stop thinking about what I'm thinking about before, stop everything, take a pause, do the stuff, control it, because usually when I'm in a hurry, I do a lot of mistakes, and then press start. While in my app, I define a workflow once, and then I apply a color code. For video files, I use blue because I think that MPEG-4 is blue, but sometimes I use a green color code or an orange. And so I say, okay, the orange one is the one that I need. And so I drag the files without even looking at the app, and then everything goes well. And the interface and the settings are keep as essential as possible, because I know that sometimes you don't need all the stuff. You just want to follow a very specific flow, define the resolution, define the bitrate, and in the end, and the lower part of the setting window, you define what happens to the file after it has been compressed. So you can define, okay, put it in the same folder as the original one, or put it in a subfolder, or put it in a specific folder in your system, and then you can add a suffix. When I drag a file to an MPEG setting that is very low quality, low data rate, I add the underscore LQ suffix, so I know that when I'm looking at the file, okay, this is the low quality version, and so I do not make any mistake. And then I can add you can add the date, and so you can have a date stamp for the creation of the file. This is useful for revision. The client says, I want to modify this stuff at this time code, and you ask him what version do you have, and so the file name is perfect because it's time stamped on the file itself. So
this is your website.
Yeah, and I know I have to upgrade those images too, because I added a lot of possibilities. You can export the settings, you can import settings, you can duplicate, you can start a setting as a favorite, and so it's always on top on the list. You can divide the settings by the media. The media type, so you can divide the settings in the view for videos, audio, and images. And then I added one thing that I needed a lot. If you drag a PDF file onto an image setting, you can transcode the pages in PDF, in PNG or JPG. That is, I did this because I always use Photoshop for this, but Photoshop takes 15 seconds to launch, and so this is not a problem. But when you have to convert a PDF file to a series of JPEG or PNG, you have to save each page, and this is very time consuming. Sometimes my clients send me PDF with the storyboards for what they need for the project, and I want to transcode them as fast as possible in PNG so I can start working on them.
Sure.
And then I added this little tiny feature, but it has been saved me a lot of time. I think about this app for something that saves me a lot of time.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So have you ever thought about making an extension for Final Cut Pro with one of your products?
Yes, I'm thinking about it, and I'm studying the framework
Okay.
to understand very well how to do this. Apple documentation, it's not so perfect with this. You have to do a little of reverse engineering, but I'm seriously thinking about it because I had a lot of apps that works in tandem with Final Cut, and I'm working on the next version of my most famous app, that is Bitmark. And maybe not for the initial release, but
right.
some weeks after, it will be it will include this kind of feature, but it will be very hard because app will be very different from the current layout. It will help you in reduce the time of the music, the duration of music. You drag a 5-minute song and you say make it 30 seconds, and then automatically find the cuts for the music. So the music it's long as long as its duration is long as you need, and eventually you can in the end you can drag a lot of files, video files, and it will edit them automatically in sync with the music. It's a very spoiler this, but
so that Beatmark, that is a standalone app.
Yes.
It's not an audio unit plugin.
No, not because it was very in tandem with Final Cut. It adds a marker in correspondence with the beat of the music, and so in the end, the app produces an FCP XML file. You drag it to Final Cut. It's like an importing, and then you have the project and the event, and I have to say that Apple, when Apple introduced Final Cut 10.6, it changed the way it imports FCP XML, and all my apps overnight became unusable because the FCP XML file produced were not compatible anymore. And so I worked a lot to do another time reverse engineering to update all the apps, and now all my apps are synchronized, and then they can export the FCP XML file for Final Cut Pro 10.6. And you have to choose and when you're exporting which version of Final Cut you have, because the FCP XML is completely different, and what is compatible with Final Cut Pro 10.4 or 10.5 is not compatible with 10.6, and vice versa.
Now, what about, speaking of that, we just got the comment, are your apps compatible with Apple Silicon? Are they native?
Yes, all my apps are native, and when they were not native, the difference in terms of performance were minimal, because a lot of the strong stuff that my apps do are done by the operating system. So if I do some call for machine learning, for video analysis, all the stuff is done by the native processor. So the difference was not perceivable, but in the end, all my apps are, by the way, fully native.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. So we have a comment from Chris Walker. He says, can you convert a stack of PNGs to a video?
This is a requested feature, and I'm going to do this. I want to do it. I want to do this in a very elegant and easy way. So I think that I will have to allow the user to drag not only images but folders, and so the app automatically will understand that this is
an image
sequence of
sequence.
images.
Yeah,
And
an
then
image sequence.
I want to do the same with the, if you drag, the next feature I want to add is if you drag a sound file and an image, it will produce you a video with this image and the audio track with the sound file you dragged. This is a very interesting feature that I'm working on it.
So I think that we'll give Chris Walker a copy of one of these apps. What do you think? Chris Walker for asking that question. And plus, not only that, but he's asked like 4 or 5 questions so far. So okay. He'll be the first winner. I just pulled him over in my list of winners. Now, Chris, you have to contact me either on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter and give me your contact information, your email address, and then I'll hook you up with one of these promo copies. It's a full copy from Alex, Ulti.Media. And the reason I always remember, since you've been on here 4 times, this is maybe the 4th time, I think, Alex.
Yeah,
maybe?
yes. I'm very. I didn't say it to you, but I'm very honored to be here, and I'm very thankful to you. And I want to say ciao from Italy to all your audience. And sorry for my bad English and my bad accent.
No, your English is excellent. Your English is fantastic. So,
thank you very much.
Absolutely. So, speaking of Italy, how are things right now? I mean, because we're getting a change again. We thought we were getting out of this whole, situation with the virus, and then now it seems to be making the headquarters. Are you guys in lockdown right now, or what's the deal?
We're not in lockdown, and I think that we will not be in lockdown until the next year. The situation is not so good as everyone has hoped, but we're doing better than other countries in Europe.
Good.
The vaccination campaign has went very well, and it's going very, very fast. And a lot of people are having the third shot. I will have my first shot in January. My wife already got it, and so we are doing as best as we can.
Right.
But some restriction will be introduced in regions in Italy in 1 week or 2 because the Omicron variant is so strong, so contagious that we have to stop it in some way. But
yeah,
I'm not doing remote working since the beginning of this year. We're very good because all the people wear masks and we keep a distance. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but I think we're doing the best maybe the best as we can as a country.
Yeah, that's what everybody's doing, aren't they? Everybody's doing the best that they can. We've survived without any problem. Where at my place, I don't go out anyway, hardly ever anyway. But I do some live. I've done live streaming. I've been doing live streaming, not only like these on, Final Cut TV Live, but I go out to local events. But they're all, without exception, everyone is outside. Well, there's a couple that were inside and people were wearing masks, but most of the stuff I cover is outside, and I just, keep distance from everybody and try to cover live events. We've been okay. As a matter of fact, I enjoy going to see bands. And the last a year ago, I said, well, the bands aren't playing anywhere because the clubs are closed. So I invited bands over here. And we've had outdoor concerts. They set up in my garage. I have it set up as a stage. The garage door is open. A little audience forms outside in the parking lot area. Everybody spreads out, and we do live streaming of the concerts. I did 4 this fall, and I did 2 the fall before, and I'm going to start up again in the spring. The same kind of thing. It gets them exposure, and we get to see live music. These are all original bands. You don't want to do cover bands. You get in trouble. Yeah, it's been working really well. The bands enjoy it. They just do one set, come over and do one set. It's easy to load in and stuff, and they have a good time. We make sure everybody has a good time. So, yeah. So we'll have to see how things go. You know, they keep changing things. Initially, they said one thing, and then they're saying something else. So it's just like, well, we're kind of juggling here. Everybody's kind of, you know, we don't really know. We don't know exactly what's going on. We're trying to, we're playing as we go. You know, it's like a live game.
Our generation started having a very near horizon for our work, for our job, and so my father can think, okay, now I'm doing this for the next 5 years, and then I say, okay, I'm doing this for my next 5 months, and then this small and near horizon became in all the aspects of our life, and so you cannot do any plans anymore. This summer I went in vacation with my wife in Sicily. It was very good. Everything is outside in the open, and but we decided to go 2 minutes before. So in July you say, okay, we can go, let's go, but we cannot do any plan anymore.
Right, that's exactly correct. That's the same thing that we're finding. So I'm just going to pull this up here. What the heck is that? That's weird. Oh, here they are. Here we are. So I'm just going to pull this up. So this, I'm not going to play it, but this is my web page that I have, and this is the garage that I have. So it's a double car garage. It's a real garage. You know, this is not a fake garage. This is a real garage. And I just let the band set up in there, and I open the door up, and everybody stays, you know, apart. And then in front of the garage is just the park. It's like a paved parking area. So
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's good because they get to have music, and I get to hear music. They come here. This is Harlan County Kings. I'm not going to play anything, but they can go on my YouTube channel and just look for it's Raz TV Garage Concert Series. Everybody has a good time. Now we can't do it in the wintertime. It's too cold. But it's really, you know, I've had 4 bands here, and they're original bands, like I said, it's on my YouTube channel, Richard Taylor TV. I just wanted to bring that up because people were commenting on it. So let me see. So this is, Tim said, what a great idea for doing small concerts in today's reality. Exactly. I mean, the bands, they're my friends. They're playing original music. They're not hardly playing anywhere. So come on out here and play, and we'll get you some, you know, get you 1,000 views and some comments and stuff. And he says, Tim also says, do you use Logic in your garage band concerts? No, I don't. I have 3 cameras set up. I have a 20-channel mixing board that mixes the live sound for the audience, and it also records a multi-track session of the, you know, everything's recorded in individual tracks, and that's what I send out on the live feed. I send that, you know, mixed version on the live feed with the video. So I keep expanding. I keep expanding what I'm doing here. At the beginning, it was just a couple of microphones, and, you know, then I said, hey, I'm going to expand it. So I got some other equipment because I'm big into audio. I mean, you can see my 69 Strat right there. I've been playing. That's my go-to guitar that I've modified, but it's, you know.
Well, so, the music I hear when there's the waiting, the walking in your channel, it's you playing.
Yeah, that's me probably on that guitar. That was a live New Year's Eve concert from a few years ago. So that's me playing. It's an instrumental. It's original instrumental. It's called Swagger. That's what it's called. And yeah, it's like a little bit of a jump blues kind of a thing. I do roots rock and blues and a little bit of rockabilly, a little bit of country, but I enjoy original music. I do some covers. I do some covers myself because I like the covers. So, but it's all about original music for me, for writing the music.
Yeah, that was the same when I played the guitar when I was in the high school and the university. But I was a little more hard rock genre. I was pushing to the heavy metal phase.
Oh, were you? Were you?
Yeah.
Did you have a Marshall stack?
Yes, I had a Marshall amplifier, and I used an Ibanez guitar. In the in the late 90s and early 2000, Ibanez produced very good guitars, and then I modified a lot it because I uh, make the fret lighter, and then I changed the pickup with Seymour Duncan. It was very good.
Yeah, I have. Do I have Seymour? I have Seymour Duncans on the Strat. I have Seymour Duncans quarter pounders, which are a little beefier than the stock Strat. I still have all the stock pickups. I didn't get rid of those. I still have them, and they'll fit right back in. But I like something a little more mid-range for what I like. Okay. So, but I love the Strat guitar. I love the Strat guitar. I just like the neck. I like the rosewood neck and the whole 9 yards. So we got a comment here from Coco. How about if we don't ask a question? We don't get anything interesting, nothing interesting? Well, you just won yourself a copy of the app just for that question. Yes, you get something interesting even if you don't ask any questions. So, but you have to contact me. Once again, you got to contact me on YouTube, or you can go to Facebook. Not Facebook so much. Messenger on Facebook. That'll work. Or on Twitter. Somehow get a hold of me and send me your information. I'm just going to pull that up there. Well, I got it. I got it right here. I'll keep track of these. So Roz says, I came late. Is it possible to get a quick overview of the application? So
okay.
We're going to yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it's a very simple app that transcode media from one format to another, video to video, audio to audio, and images to images. And it's you can think about it as a very an app for fast workflow. But I think that you can download it for free. There's a 7-day trial, and then you can try it. It's only for Macintosh. Because I do not develop for Windows. I do not own a PC since 2000, when I was a journalist for technical paper. So I don't even know how to start a PC computer. But
I'm the same way. So right there, you can download Ulti.Media Converter. Free for 7 days. The trial version is fully features for evaluation. It's right there. You can purchase it, and it's. I really like the way that you have, or these. Well, you have the ability to color code your preset, your drop. You call them droplets? What do you call these?
I never thought about it as a droplet, but droplet is a perfect. It's a perfect name. I used to call it drag area, but I know that this is not a very good name. A droplet is better.
So this is one thing that I wish Apple would incorporate. This is the ability, we look at things in colors. Like I'm looking at these icons and I'm immediately attracted to the green, the red, the blue, the yellow. If they were all gray, they'd be a lot less interesting, right?
Yeah.
So I like these colors now. Yeah, visually, yes.
Oh, thank you. I think that Apple used a lot of minimalism when Johnny Ive was in charge for communication and user interface. But since he left, I think Apple regained a little color, a little of color. It changed the way even Apple produce videos and animation. If you go to an Apple store, the graphics you see in the Apple Store is different from what you could see 5 years ago. And I think it's going to change and become more modern, more colorful, but without becoming trashy or confused.
Yes, I agree. Now, people have said that. They've said that, they don't. Well, people are funny. Okay, everybody's got their own list of things that they want Final Cut to add. But if you don't take their thing, they don't want your thing. Some people, I don't want that. I don't want that. Well, I want everything. I want everybody to get all of their stuff as much as reasonably possible. But the idea of colors, if you look at Logic's color palette, it's much, much better than Final Cut Pro's color palette. color palette in Final Cut Pro, to me, first off, all the colors are very dull. They're very earthy, brownish, orangish, and some of the colors look very similar, even though they're technically a little bit different to my eyes. You can't even hardly tell. And plus, it's a very limited palette. You go to Logic, it's still limited, but it's much better. The colors, you can get brighter colors, darker colors, but it's a much bigger palette. So I've always wanted Apple to incorporate the Logic palette that they already have in their Pro app into Final Cut. So we have a comment.
It's very important. I always use two stuff to communicate things in my interfaces. You have an icon and a label for something you can click, but sometimes you can use two different stuff. You can use an icon to do a category of something, and then a label to a specification. So your brain can receive two different messages at the same time, and you can elaborate them in the same time. But if you use colors, this is more simpler. Your brain, you don't have to interpret what is a label or what is an icon, because the color is so immediate. Obviously, if you're colorblind, this is a problem. But
right.
My all the colors in my app are configurable, so you can choose the color you prefer.
Well, that's really good. But we're doing video. We're such visual. You were using visual stuff. So it was funny because when Apple gave us color, I think it was when they introduced colored roles, they took away colors from the browser and the timeline index.
Yeah.
So it's like they had a zero-sum color palette. They can only have so many colors. That's what it seemed like. I mean, it's ridiculous, but that's what it seemed like. Oh, we're going to put colors here, but we got to take them out of the browser and take them into the timeline index. No, I want more colors. And I also don't want those earthy, crunchy colors that are very dull. They're very dull. I like to have something a little bit brighter. Look at the screen we're dealing with. I have a nice, background. It's not, blaring, but it's nice. It's a nice color. It adds a little pop. And when I do the solo thing, we have I have a little blue frame around it for both me and for you. So it's not just plain, but I like colors, and I visualize when I use Logic, and I have an hour-long podcast, for example, and I have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people on there. I can just lasso a group of clips and change all their colors at once in the timeline. So if I have one person talking, I can lasso their clips and I can color code them instantly. Just circle them and then you click the color on the palette and all of them change. So I can look at my timeline visually and see different colors. If something, when I have to pay attention to it later during editing, I'll make it red. So it's bright red. So I want to come back and revisit this because I might take it out or I might change the context. So I really like colors for that reason. Now, this is interesting. I heard this. Go ahead.
Maybe Apple keep the colors very essential in Final Cut because you're right, just because it's a visual application. And if you're doing a color grading or adjusting colors, you don't want these colors to focus to change the focus of your attention or bias the cognition of the color itself. When I do color correction, I would like a very gray interface.
But no, of course. For that, yeah, absolutely. Color correction. This is one of the things people talked about before. They use emojis to identify compound clips in the timeline. But here's the thing, and I go through this all the time. You are not using emojis. You're using the color of the emojis, okay? You're using yellow for a banana. You're using red or green for an apple. You're using this and that. Because if all the emojis were gray, they would not be as effective. So when you're using emojis, people use them. They're using the color. If Apple made the ability to color code a clip in the timeline, or in the browser, I'm saying in this circumstance, you wouldn't need emojis. You could color code a group of clips this dialog is all, these clips are red in the browser. This group is blue. This group is yellow. This group is green in the browser. And for example, LumaFusion, you can sort by color.
Ooh,
so not only can you color code clips that you whatever way you want, you can search for the color blue and all the blue clips will come up for you. And you can search for yellow and all the yellow clips will come up. You can search for red. So not only is it visual, but you can also a sorting mechanism. So I would really like to see that in Final Cut.
Panico, I will steal this idea because using emojis or color emojis to give a code and tags and color tags to the clip is great. I will do this absolutely starting tomorrow.
Exactly. Well, so it's been an interesting development cycle for Final Cut. Up to version 4 and 4.4 and 4 up to 4.9, there was I would say a more aggressive development of new features and adding features and stuff. When they got to 5, they didn't add much. 5, it was for the Silicon chip a year ago. And then they jumped to 6 and they gave us 2 features in 6. They gave us the tracking feature. And then they gave us a feature that only editors with iPhone 13s can use, which is the cinematic mode. If you don't have an iPhone 13 or iPhone 13 footage, the cinematic mode is not, you can't do anything with it. There's nothing you can do. So they gave us basically one feature for most of the editors and the second feature if you have an iPhone 13. I don't think they've ever given a feature before that was dependent on an iPhone. That was the first time. Now, the tracking feature is a big feature in itself, but it's nothing compared to when they went to 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, 10.4. Much bigger feature set. Yeah. So I hope that's either, if they're only doing a couple of features per full number update, I guess they're trying to get to Final Cut Pro 11. I guess that's what they're doing. They're just going to do a couple. But I would be disappointed if 10.6 turned out to be the same as 10.5, which 10.5, tell me what features we got in 10.5. And don't tell me Apple Silicon compatibility is not a feature.
No.
Okay.
And the feature in which you can change the ratio of the timeline and the clip, so adjust the position. That was a very great feature, but I used it only once.
Okay. So you used it one time. So Final Cut Pro 10.5 gave you a feature that you use one time.
It's a very important feature. I don't say this, but I think that could have been a little better for this.
Yeah. So 10.6 so far has given us one feature that everybody can use and one feature that only iPhone 13 owners can use, which is...
But I have to ask a question to you and all to all of your audience. When I have to do this kind of things, such as tracking mask for color correction, something like this, I use After Effects every day. After Effects is the first app I use,
sure,
and then the second one is Final Cut Pro. I think this is a very specific feature. It's a very powerful feature, but for a very specific target. And I think that this kind of target is already using something else like DaVinci Resolve or After Effects for this kind of stuff. What do you think about it?
Bingo. You're absolutely correct, Alex. You're absolutely correct. So it's not that I appreciate the fact that they gave us motion tracking. It's 2D, not 3D motion tracking, or, the tracking feature. I've never used it. Okay. Will I use it? Yes. I will use it to blur out a license plate, or I'll use it for, tracking. If I'm doing somebody's face and I just color corrected the face, I'll use it to track that. That's fine. But that's not by itself. It's a great feature as a singular feature, but it's just the lack of what we've been used to for 10 years. They gave us they gave us a lot of features and things. So I'm kind of hoping 5 10.5 was almost no features at all. The one feature you're talking about, the aspect ratio, but then 10.6 so far has one feature that everybody can use and one feature that iPhone 13 users can use. So I hope that's not something they intend to keep on doing. Now, I've tempered my expectations of Final Cut Pro. I have. I mean, they've taught me in the last 3 years, my expectations are always, up here, up here, up here. They've brought my expectations down. They have. They brought them to the point where I'm not expecting a whole lot because I don't pay attention to talk I pay attention to actions, and their actions are, we're not going to give you a whole lot of stuff. We're going to give you a couple things down here. So my expectations are down here right now. Now I'm still using Final Cut. I mean, that's what I use, but my expectations are not as high as they were. Can they get high again? Of course. Of course. They can come out with a brilliant update to 10.6 with nice features that everybody's been asking for. The editors have been asking for years. I mean, dupe detection. I mean, how many times do you have to hear that? And I can't imagine with the smart people they have on the Final Cut Pro team that's that difficult to incorporate. As a matter of fact, in 2019, when we go to the Creative Summit, we have a private session with the Final Cut Pro team. And one of the sessions were about feature requests. And they said, we heard about dupe detection. This was 2 years ago. We've heard about dupe detection. We know you want dupe detection. Here it is 2 years later. No dupe detection.
I think they have to slow down a lot of stuff they were doing because of the pandemic, because of the fact that they are not working together anymore. They're working remotely, and so all the things are going slower for everybody who is developing software.
But here's the problem with that, Alex. Tell it to Black Magic.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Black Magic has exploded the last 2 years. They bring out cameras. They bring out A10 Minis and A10 Mini Pros. They put out, as soon as you get one update for DaVinci Resolve, you got another update coming a couple weeks later. The pandemic is an excuse, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, Black Magic is proof of that you absolutely can develop during a pandemic, and they did. I mean, Black Magic, there's something different about them that they're not affected by the pandemic. Of course they are. And the thing is, Apple's smart, and Apple's got lots of money. So I'm not clear exactly why they're doing what they're doing. If they have a final game plan, if they have a big update coming out, something along the lines, that's fine. Then my expectations will go back up to where they've been all along. That doesn't mean I'm, like I said, I'm still using Final Cut. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
So
I think that one thing they could do, if they are not committed to bring a lot of people into developing this app, maybe they can open it a little to us developer. So everybody would like to have a very good audio mixer in Final Cut, something that makes the audio mixing to the top level. So if you can say these are the APIs, you can interact directly with the database of the audio, because underneath everything is in Final Cut is a database. It's a media database. So if you can interact directly with it, and you can produce a very cool interface, then Final Cut can be a container, and everyone can fill it with the things that they need more. So if you do a lot of editing, like I'm playing the timeline and then I add the stuff while it's running, then you can do this kind of stuff with a specific kind of application. If you do a lot of audio mixing, you can do a lot with a tactical interface. If they're not committed to develop the Final Cut as they were doing some years ago, they should open it a little for all the. I am a very big little developer. I'm not so
right.
But there are a lot of people that can come in and make this thing very better. If you think the scene of After Effects is a very open program, and you can do a lot, not only with the plugins. The plugins are the lesser part, but with all the things that you can do, developing for After Effects inside After Effects, you can change the interface, add a lot of feature, make things that compose itself. And if I will have this kind of stuff for in Final Cut Pro, I'll be happy 10 times, because it will be very, very powerful. Because if you can look at a project with an overview view, with another way of seeing things, you can do something to the next level. That's my opinion.
Right. There's a balance between what the app itself can do and what third-party developers can do. Personally, I don't want Final Cut Pro to be skeletal. I don't want it to be this skinny little NLE that depends on all these third-party apps to flush itself out to be a professional NLE. I want it to be robust in and of itself. And then third-party developers can go above and beyond that. I don't think third-party developers should be adding basic features. I'll give you a perfect example. 2 weeks ago, Intelligent Assistants came out with a $5 app. I buy almost all of their apps. They're friends of mine. That enables you, it's an extension in Final Cut. You can open up a text document or open up a PDF document inside of Final Cut. To me, that's a basic feature that Final Cut should have. After 10 years, you can't open up a text document to copy a script or to, if you're doing transcripts or something. I mean, Logic has a notes feature built into the app, so you can have a note per project or a note per track. 2 different notes, and you can just copy things and paste things and rearrange. So when I do a voiceover in Logic, I have the script right there in Logic. And it stays with that project. So if I open it up 5 years from now, I don't have to go, where's my text file? I had a text file for a voiceover. Where is it? So that's something to me that should have been included in Final Cut. Do I appreciate Intelligent Assistants doing that app? The extension? Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think I'll buy it immediately after this live session, because it's very, very important. I heard it, but it was in the last two weeks I was very fulfilled with jobs, and in Friday night I received a call from one of my clients saying to me, I have to put a TV commercial on the television by tomorrow, and so I had to calibrate the monitor, calibrate the production to send it to the TV. It was November and December are nightmares, and so sorry, but I will buy this app immediately, because it's very, 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 it's precious. It's
so Philip Hodgetts and Gregory Clark, pay attention. I just sold you a copy. I just sold you a copy of your app. I think it's $4.99 in the App Store. It's in the App Store. That's the other thing. Why isn't there? You have the Final Cut Pro Effects panel. Why don't they have a link to the apps there? Why can't you buy third-party plugins in Final Cut? You click on, maybe you can get a trial to try it for 7 days, and at the end of the 7 days, you click on the link and it takes you to the App Store or to the whatever to buy the app. I think that would be fantastic. Built into Final Cut, in the App Store. So Edgar says, I don't know the roadmap for their pro apps. You don't know if they will stop or if they will continue. And so as a professional editor that loves their apps, I have to play Russian roulette. I don't think they're going to stop. I mean, I've heard people, and I listen, I understand. I understand the sentiment that Apple doesn't care as much about Final Cut as it has for a while. I don't think that's the case. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I'm still, even though my expectations have been tempered, I'm still hopeful. I'm still an optimist when it comes to Final Cut, and I still want to see the development happen. I'm just not, I'm not saying, oh, they're going to bring out, whatever, next week. No, I don't do that. It's just whatever. It's my expectations are down here, mid level. They used to be up much higher, but that's fine. I mean, I'm realistic. And like I said, I don't pay attention to this. I don't pay attention to words. I pay attention to action, people walking, people action. I pay attention to what the actions are. When the Final Cut Pro team says, we listen to our users, I used to defend that statement. I don't anymore. I've seen, well, just for example, dupe detection. 2 years ago, they mentioned it at the Creative Summit. We hear you. We hear the dupe detection is important to everybody. We hear it all the time. Okay, I'm confused. You've heard it. You've heard the users request for years, and we still don't have dupe detection. That's just one example. So, like I said, if they've got a big update coming in 10.6 or even 10.7, that's fine. Look, I bought this. Pro. Anyway, I bought that. The new M1 16-inch M1X, top of the line, 64 gigabytes of unified memory, 32 cores. And I'm still, it's running great. I really, really like it a lot. It's probably, I have a Mac Pro over here. Now I have this. I'll probably sell the Mac Pro. I didn't use it as much as I thought I was going to. I mean, all the power that it has. The one thing that I like is I had 10 Thunderbolt ports on that thing.
Yeah.
It comes with 4, and I added PC, a graphics card. It has a bunch of them and stuff. So I love all the connectivity. But then again, I have almost the same amount with my MacBook Pro. I almost have the same amount with my MacBook Pro. What I've done is I got a Thunderbolt 4 dock, and that dock is connected to an older dock via Thunderbolt. So I have USB 3.2 connections in this dock, and then that dock stuck to another dock, and that dock also has has USB 3 ports. And it has Thunderbolt 2 that connects to my older RAIDs. So I still have a lot of ports, at least for desktop. When I travel, I won't have as many.
But I think that we will, with my company, we will buy in February an M1 Max because we need it.
Sure.
And in the end, in my office I use my old Mac Pro only because I have 3 monitors attached to it, because for the power, for the smoothness and the snappiness, I prefer this old 2018 MacBook Pro. And I think that with this power and with a couple of dongle or hubs, you can have a very, very good desktop replacement.
Well, you can, Alex. And the other thing is this. We've seen this pattern with Final Cut. You mentioned Jonathan Ives. I'm not sure if he was the reason, but we were getting smaller, thinner, smaller, thinner, smaller, thinner. The phones were, the MacBooks were, the Mac Pro, the 2013 Mac Pro, the cylinder one. I've had Mac Pros all my life. I didn't buy that one. At that point, I have the old Mac Pros. I have the Power PC Mac Pro. I have the other Intel Mac Pro downstairs. I got the 2019 Mac Pro. The cylinder one. Apple? What are you thinking? So this is what's happened, though. So the phones were getting smaller. The MacBooks were getting smaller. The Mac Pro is getting smaller. Everything's smaller, smaller, smaller. They got rid of the ports in 2016 on the MacBook Pro, right? They got rid of all the ports, gave us 4 Thunderbolt ports instead. What did they do? They reversed the decision. It was a bad decision. They reversed the decision. They gave us back the They gave us back the MagSafe. They gave us back the HDMI port. They gave us back the card reader, and they gave us Thunderbolt ports because it was a bad decision. Is the MacBook Pro's a little bit thicker? That's fine. I want a Pro machine to have some beef to it. Right. The cylinder Mac Pro is the same way. What did Phil Schiller said? This his famous quote, "Can't innovate more my butt." Right? Well, no, you worked yourself into this design corner where you wanted this pretty little round thing with no expandability. It was just not what pros wanted, to the point where Apple had a public meeting with professionals and said, "What do you want?" They said, "We want this thing, this Mac Pro that came out with in 2019. I was talking to Gary Adcock before it came out. I said, "Gary, what would you like to see in the Mac Pro?" He said, I want 4 PCIe slots. Well, they gave us 8. They gave us 8 PCIe slots. That's what I expect Apple to be doing. They've reversed the Mac Pro. They reversed the MacBook Pro. They even reversed, this kills me. They even reversed the remote control for the Apple TV. Yeah. They had that horrible little sliver of a remote control. You couldn't tell which was up and which was down. It was just all a sliding thing. And they reversed it and came back once again. They realized they made a mistake. They came back with physical dials and physical buttons. So I immediately bought that remote control for my old Apple TV as soon as it came out. And the same with the phone. Okay, the phones were getting thinner, and then they reversed, starting with the 12, and they have protruding lenses. And Jonathan Ive must be rolling over in his sleep. Protruding lenses that protrude? Yeah, because we need the beef. We need the guts, this thing. We need this thing to be thick. We don't need it to be thin. We want, power. That's what we want.
Yeah. And then I have to add, I went to an Apple store 3 days ago, and I was buying a gift for a friend of mine, and I had a look to a MacBook Pro aisle, and then I saw there's a 2021 16 inch, and it was gorgeous. The display is astonishing. I never seen a display beauty as this one. I fell in love with the monitor, and I never I didn't even touch it with my finger. It was very, very great. I'm dying to have this one of these for my use.
So they talked about now they having a new monitor coming out, perhaps in 2022. It's going to be less expensive than their high-end one, the XDR monitor. So we'll have to see what's going on there. They also talked about Apple announced that they were dropping the iMac Pro, and now everybody's saying they're bringing the iMac Pro back. 27-inch powerful M1X chipsets or whatever. I read today that somebody said they anticipate Apple to be on an 18-month cycle for updating their M1 chips. So if the iMac Pro comes out in the spring of 2022, it'll likely have exactly the same chips, the M1 Pro, the M1 Max chips that we have in the MacBook Pro, with perhaps a few more Thunderbolt ports or whatever. Obviously the iMac Pro doesn't need the MagSafe connection. That's one thing they don't need for sure.
It makes sense to have this kind of class processor into something like the desktop machine. Even in a Mac Mini will have very sense to have so much power in a very small case.
Yes, absolutely. If they introduced the Mac Mini at the same time the Mac Pro came out, MacBook Pro, I would have been torn as to which one to get, but I really like the MacBook Pro. Yeah, it's expensive. It's for sure. It's expensive, but I really like it. So we've had a couple comments. One, Panico says he'd like to see copyrighted music store a la Apple Music incorporated in Final Cut. I'm not sure if they're going to see that. Licensed at a fair price to all Final Cut Pro use only for social media. Sharing commercial. And listen, I don't know. I have posted music that I've bought the library or whatever, or I'm playing some of these bands that I have. They're playing original music, and they still get tagged. they still get tagged. Somebody says, "Oh, they borrowed this melody from my song." What am I going to do? Am I going to fight every time that happens? It's happened multiple times. They're playing original music. Oh, but they borrowed the melody from my song. Really? That's what we have to deal with. So even if it's copyrighted music, you have to pay. You still got to fight sometimes.
And I think this is not feasible because the only social media that will allow this is Instagram, and I don't think that Apple will integrate Instagram APIs into their product. They banned Facebook for their good reasons, right. And right. So the same will apply to Instagram. So I think this is not feasible, and it will be a very legal mess.
No, it would be, but you keep, when you get a strike on YouTube or something for music, I don't know what to do. That's why I play my own music on my show. It's music that I wrote and I recorded. So I would fight if anybody says that's their music. I would say, no, that's mine. I have the album. I have the copyright. But still, why should I have to? If it's something that I wrote and whatever, that's why I play my music at the beginning of the show, because it's mine. You can't say it's yours. I have proof on the whole 9 yards. I mean, when we used to do, my band used to do CDs, we used to go to the Harry Fox agency in New York, and he could license anybody. Any music, he was the guy that licensed it. But it was per CD. In other words, you can get this license for up to 1,000 CDs. This is what it'll cost you, maybe $100 to cover this song on your CD. But when the digital age came and YouTube and they don't know how many copies, all that went out the window. It doesn't cover that. I don't know who does. I don't know who covers that now. If I wanted to cover a song by an artist, I don't know who covers that for YouTube and stuff. I have no idea. But I certainly wouldn't do it. People say, well, I got Apple Music. Can I put some music on my video? No, you can't. You can't play it at the wedding. You can't play it at the whatever, any event. You get in trouble. Just because you bought the music, that's for your personal listening pleasure, not for broadcasting on YouTube and stuff. So your converter also does audio stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did you do that with audio as well as video? I'm just curious.
I started because I do a lot of audio in my life, because I am a podcaster, and because I was a musician a lot of times ago. Music in my videos is very important. It's central. I always first choose the music, and then I build upon it my editing. And so audio is important for me, and I wanted something that can do a very easy workflow for audio too. And so I have just three audio targets. So MP3, wave audio, and MP4 audio, AAC. But I focused more on wave, because sometimes I get files in a compressed way, and I want to convert in a non-compressed format before using it. And so my app is one of the few apps that handles OGG files that are used in audio messages in Telegram. I use Telegram a lot. I don't know if you use it in the US, but in Italy we use Telegram a lot. Is a second right before WhatsApp. And audio vocals, audio messages are in this OGG format. It is not standard, and so in my library I added the compatibility with this format. And then I added some features to concatenate audio. So if you drag 10 files, and then the audio can be concatenated to produce only one audio file, or to split the channel. Sometimes you need to split channels for an audio file left and right, and so it's quite easy. You create this droplet and drag the files there, and then you have this utility. I added all this stuff because I needed them. And all the times I went to Audition, and Audition is a very slow program. I don't like it. I have to use it because it's one of the best software, but I don't like it. And then if I have to split the audio files, I have to save as a different separate channels, and then save the left file, and then choose where to save it. And then the same for the second. And the window where you choose where to save the file is it's something that I can understand in Audition. If you like Audition, that's good, but it's not for me. And so I do this for me. It's useful, and I like it. One thing that we'll add is the ability to split the file using the silences. So if you have pauses in a file, it can slice it. I will add this feature as soon as I can, because it's something that I need. So
very good.
This in a few weeks.
So we're going to give another copy of the app away. We're going to give it to Pniko. I think that's how they pronounce your name. Pniko's been doing a lot of commenting on this stream, so you've won a copy. Thanks to Alex.
Yeah, I like to thank you because you use the emojis to identify compounds. So for me, it's the tips of the day.
But you're using the color of the emoji. I keep saying it, the emoji, but you're using the color, whether it's banana, red, yellow, green apple. That's what you're using. Green check mark, you're using the color. If you could just color code the clips in the browser, you wouldn't need the emojis. You can make them whatever color you wanted.
I use text expander to change the text, and I have maybe 200 shortcuts for the emojis. So I can add a shortcut for color codes.
So Pniko says, thanks, fellow Italian here too. Alex, do your apps pull stills from videos? Yes, they do. He talked about that.
If you drag a video file onto an image setting, you can choose one single frame and then press continue. You can choose more than one frame, and the miniatures will appear below the image. It's very fast, I assure you, because I use it a lot. When I work a lot for pharmaceutical companies, I produce videos for pharmaceutical companies, and Italian law needs that when you produce a video for a pharma company, all the frames of the video, when the scene changes, must to be exported and included as a PDF file. With every time the video changes a bit, the video must be deposited, must be notarized from the AIFA. It's the same as FCC is for you.
FCC, yes. Well, FCC is Federal Communications Commission, yes.
No, what's the pharma?
Oh, yeah, it's the. I know what you mean. Yeah, the pharmaceutical companies, right?
Yes, and that's the same. And then I do a lot of still exporting from videos for this reason. So I develop this stuff just for this.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's a great feature to have. I mean, I pull stills all the time for YouTube's videos and stuff.
You have to choose the frame of the poster, and YouTube allows you to choose from free selection. And so with this kind of stuff, you can export this. And FDA, right?
FDA, Food and Drug Administration. So listen, Alex, this is one of the other odd little things that Final Cut still doesn't have. Why can't I set a poster frame? In Final Cut.
But the Final Cut 7 allowed it.
Yes, they did. And you can do it in QuickTime, but you got to go to the inspector. You got to go to the Finder, the inspector, and you got to drag. Yeah. But why not in Final Cut? Let me choose a poster frame. Isn't that kind of a standard thing that you should be able to do? I hear people, especially friends in Hollywood and stuff, and they're talking about, how Final Cut's not accepted in Hollywood because it doesn't have feature X or feature Y or collaboration or whatever. Well, there's lots of features that dupe detection that would benefit everybody, I think, not just Hollywood. You know, I don't want Final Cut to concentrate, just put blinders on and just concentrate on Hollywood. I want them to do, you know, I call it the nuts and bolts features that editors need. You know, dupe detection is one, coloring clips is one. There's lots of them. An audio mixer, role space mixer, absolutely. Whatever they want to do with the roles, give us a mixer so we have the ability to work with audio much better than the version that we have now. I mean, they give us features and then they take features away. They used to be able to, they had the project had its own timeline at one point. I think it was 10.0, maybe 10.1. At the bottom underneath where the timeline is, that you had a project library. And you can go in there and click on a project and scrub through the entire project. Look, you know, see which version it was. You can't scrub a project in the browser. You can scrub a compound clip, multicam, and clips, but you cannot scrub a project. However, you can scrub a project in the share menu. When you go to share, you can scrub it, but you can't scrub it in the browser for some odd reason. That just doesn't make sense to me. Things like that. I mean, yeah, they probably have their reasons why you can't yet, but I'm not just saying, okay, they're never going to have it. I'm just saying it's just not there yet going forward.
But thinking about Hollywood, I think that Apple will never go that path because it's hard and it's not their business. Final Cut Pro is the most used for YouTubers, and so I think that this niche is not a niche. This market is the more compelling for them. I use it a lot for a lot of stuff, starting from TV commercial for pharmaceutical videos, tutorials, and animation. For me, it's a Swiss Army knife. I use it for everything, but I would never use it in a feature film, maybe because it's a very close market. There are a lot of protocols and procedures, and it's quite difficult to break this. Yes, there were movies that used Final Cut Pro, even triple E movies, but I think that were an exception more than everything else.
Well, I agree. I mean, the fact that people say you can't use Final Cut for a feature film, well, you can because they've already been done. But my friends, Michael Yanovich says you can't use Final Cut for these big tentpole films that have dozens of editors and dozens of assistant editors. You can't use Final Cut for that kind of what he calls a tentpole. The really big ones, you just can't. It's not, once you start dealing with more than half a dozen editors and assistant editors and producers and all, they all got to have their hands on stuff. It just doesn't work. It just falls apart. So I understand that. And I'm not overly concerned that Final Cut ever gets there and they ever get to that level. If they do along the way, that's fine. But I'm more interested in the mid-level documentary filmmakers. YouTubers, of course, they've become very important recently. So, and of course, feature films. Now, I had a family on a couple weeks ago who just did a film called Sunken Roads about World War II vets who landed in Normandy. No, it wasn't Normandy. It was over there in Europe during D-Day. And they went back and they retraced their footsteps back in the original locations, the ones that are still alive. And a 20-year-old girl went along with them. So you saw this whole thing unfold from the eyes of a 20-year-old girl. That she was the producer. But the funny thing was, it started in Final Cut Pro 10. She did all her logging and stuff at night. She shot the film. She did all her logging in Final Cut. And then it went to Final Cut Pro 7 because the editor was on Final Cut Pro 7. He didn't want to use 10. So it went from 10 to 7. And then when it was done, it went back to 10 for outputting. So 10 to 7 to 10 is how they did that. Very interesting, but it's a really good film. So people, I mean, who was it? What film that won a bunch of awards was cut in 7 recently, the last couple of years?
Cold Mountain.
No, just a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Korean? Was it a Korean film?
I don't know.
Yeah, it won a bunch of awards, and they found out that he cut it in 7. It was just like maybe 2019. Parasite.
Oh my
yes.
God.
Parasite was cut in Final Cut 7. Yes.
That's interesting.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Yes. You know, in 2019, people are still using 7 because it has, they're familiar with it and it has features that they wanted.
What machine can run this?
It has to be an old machine. I have the original MacBook Pro. I have a copy of 7 on there. And I have the copy of 7, and I have the original Final Cut Pro 10.0 on there. 10.0. Can you remember that? I was looking through my database looking for something this last week, and I came across an old Final Cut Pro 10.0 project hierarchy, and they have project and events are separate folders.
Yeah.
Used to drive me crazy. As a matter of fact, I edited in compound clips to get rid of, so I didn't have to deal with project folders. I just didn't want to deal with it. So I edited in compound clips, and they were just in events. And I remember people saying, "Oh, what happens when they change? You're not going to get out of here. It works fine." The change, people were saying, "You should be using projects." I said, "No, I don't want to use projects. I'm using compound clips. I don't want to deal with this dual." And then what did they do? In 10.1, they got rid of it. Then they gave us the unified library. So,
as of today, I still don't like the project term. It's a timeline. It's not a project for me. A project is something bigger.
Yes. Absolutely. I use the word project the way the general population uses it, and the way that, in Hollywood, the project is a project. It's much bigger, all-encompassing. It's not the timeline. It's not a single timeline inside of an event, inside of a library. Absolutely. I mean, I did a compilation, for example. People say, "Oh, that's what you have to say project." No, you don't. You have to say Final Cut Pro 10. You can't say Final Cut Pro X. Yes, you can. You can say whatever you want. As a matter of fact, when they dropped the X in 2019, was it? 2020, they dropped the X when they came up with 10.5. Apple official dropped the X. The guy in the Final Cut Pro team, he was doing a presentation at the Creative Summit, the Apple presentation. He himself said, "We are dropping the X or the 10 or whatever you want to call it." He didn't say we're dropping the 10. He said we're dropping the X. So even Apple, if you do, that whole thing, Apple 10, X 10, that doesn't make a difference to me. Call it whatever you want. But people say you have to call it the way because Apple said, no, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have to call it. You can call whatever you want. Same with the project. I call project, I mean a all-encompassing project, or like you said, a timeline or a sequence for, people have been complaining about that. What, you go into Hollywood and you're going to use a term project specifically for Final Cut Pro's usage? No, you're not. Final Cut's not going to turn Hollywood around. They're not going to come around to Apple's way of thinking this is a project. It's not the best idea. I agree. What's next on your list of apps? Do you have some for 2022 that you want to talk about?
Well, I just launched Saturday the last app for 2021. That's because I promised to launch it in the fall, and the fall was ending. It's I think I did a very soft launch, so I'm not doing any buzz all around. It's one of the most complex app I ever done. Is a companion app for After Effects that can help you to transform any composition into a template.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
use. I use a very little motion because you can integrate motion as with Final Cut and produce templates. You do something in motion, and you can apply all the changing fields and changing parameters in Final Cut. But I don't use motion because I prefer After Effects, and After Effects don't have templates. It can be used with templates in Premiere, but not in Final Cut. And so I developed this app that can create. It allows you to create templates, and so you can fill data and then transform this data into movies. For lower thirds and
right,
and something like this. But I added a lot of stuff that you can integrate videos, audio, vector animations, and something like this. I do not have a page. I have yes, I know I have a page for Beachbody AE, BBAE, BBAE, but there's only a very small video. I wanted to put it online. The app is finished. It doesn't crash. It's okay, but it needs a lot of documentation and a lot of marketing that I will do in the first weeks of 2022. Maybe I can do something in this Christmas break, but I don't know. My wife always wants to stay with me, and so don't go to work in a house. Stay with me, and let's watch some movies.
Absolutely. You should listen to your wife.
Okay, Panko says that it crashes while exporting PNG from a video. Okay. If you can send me the log file to support at Ulti.Media, I can answer you as fast as possible. Thanks.
Absolutely. Panico. Yes, absolutely. So do you edit your videos in Final Cut? Because you use After Effects a lot. So do you?
Yeah. I use After Effects is for creating a single clip with composing, with animation and something like this. And then I use Final Cut for all the editing. Sometimes I have to use Premiere and I edit with I edit a lot, and I never tried what's his name, DaVinci Resolve. Right. I used it only once for color correction. It was great, but I never studied more than this. I never used Avid, and I don't care about it. For the kind of job
you don't care about it. That's what Hollywood uses. I'm just laughing because I don't care about it either. I mean,
I when I was a kid, I dreamed to be a cinema director. Now I'm in the middle age. I'm very happy with the stuff that I do. I do something that is different than what I dreamed when I was a kid, but I'm very happy. And for the things I do, Final Cut Pro is the best choice.
Right. That's the way I look at it too. I use Final Cut. That's my first choice. Second choice is Resolve. And I really like Resolve or LumaFusion, because
I know that.
LumaFusion is really a really good NLE. It's on the iPad, and I had Terry and Chris on a few weeks ago, and they, with the iPad apps, and you can use them with an M1 Mac if the developer lets you. You can open them up on a Mac. So they allowed LumaFusion to be opened up on a Mac. They weren't satisfied with how it was working on the Mac because it wasn't designed for the Mac, but they allowed people to open it. Chris said he has dedicated, I think, 2 people to work on the Mac version of LumaFusion. Not as a Mac app. It's still going to be the iPad app, but he wants to improve the Mac experience, you opening up LumaFusion on the Mac. I'm really excited about that because I would really like that. Yeah. For example, they have, well, first off, they got App of the Year, iPad App of the Year. Apple gave them iPad App of the Year. People talk about where's Final Cut Pro on the iPad. This is it. This is better than Final Cut Pro on the iPad. It has years of advanced development versus a brand new 1.0 app. This is the one that Apple is promoting. Terry said, I think it's inevitable that Final Cut Pro comes to the iPad at some point, but probably not this year. We'll have to see. At some point it probably will. But I think LumaFusion is going to be completely fine. Maybe LumaFusion will transition over to a real Mac version as well. So that would be exciting. They call it themselves, and it was on Apple's website, an advanced magnetic timeline. Okay, so magnetic timeline only has been used for Final Cut Pro to describe Final Cut Pro's timeline up to this point. They said they have an advanced advanced magnetic timeline. One of the things you can do with their magnetic timeline is you can detach clips from it. So as you're editing the main timeline, everything's magnetic and all. This clip up here doesn't move because it's detached.
Okay.
From the main timeline. It stays put where you want it. You can also reattach it, but you can detach it. And I wish Final Cut, had that ability to detach. I mean,
it's quite difficult. I'm facing the same approach because I develop a podcast application which use a magnetic timeline because I love in Final Cut,
right.
And so I have to use it everywhere. And this kind of data structure is difficult to implement because if you have a magnetic timeline, the attached clips are daughters of the clip and not of the timeline. If you detach them, you make them like daughters of the timeline itself. It's like you have an invisible clip that is the timeline, and so the data structure is not so easy to handle. And I can understand the difficulty for Apple to produce something like this.
Well, here's what I do. I'll give you a perfect example. Final Cut Pro doesn't have timeline markers. It only has clip markers. It only has clip markers, right?
Yeah.
You cannot place a marker at 1 minute. You can't place a marker at 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes and expect them to stay there because they attach to the clips. So what I do, if I want markers, timeline markers, real timeline markers, not clip markers, is all the way at the beginning of the timeline, I put a anchor clip all the way at the beginning. 1 frame, 2 frames, 10 frames, all the way at the beginning of the timeline. And I attach a title to that anchor clip. And I can put the markers in the title.
Yeah.
And no matter what I do in the main timeline, the markers stay put because they're attached to this anchor clip. And I've used that more than once.
Yeah, I use this tip too.
Yeah, so that's another example. Give me sequence clips. I mean sequence markers. Let me click on a marker and drag it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Click.
I think
drag.
Markers are very powerful, but that can be made more
Better.
powerful.
Yes.
You should use them as an annotation tool with notes, with even for something strange. You should attach a clip to a marker. So you can use this marker as a very powerful feature.
Absolutely.
This is very science fiction because you have to intervene very deeply in the data structure of Final Cut. But this will be very useful because if you think about the stuff in the traditional way, you have to tell a story, you have scripted content. This is one thing, but the majority of the video production are different, other stuff.
Yes.
They have a different structure, different formats, and so you have to be able. It will be great to be able to do this kind of stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, do you think? First off, do you think NAB is going to be in person this year in 2022? It's scheduled for the end of April, so we still have 4 months away. You don't think it's going to happen?
No. No, I'm sorry. I'm sad for you because I know you usually will go there, but I think there all the exhibitions will be face restriction and closures because.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. And as far as being disappointed, I'd rather be safe. I mean, if I felt threatened from the coronavirus and stuff, I wouldn't go. I don't care if they had it or not. I'd have to feel safe. You have to feel safe. I'm just not going to threaten my health or the health of anybody else but I think that decision will happen on its own, whether it happens or doesn't happen. We got 4 months yet. And here's the thing. If they don't do it in April, don't switch it to the fall. NAB does not belong in the fall because you have the Creative Summit in the fall and you have IBC in the fall and you're trying to cram NAB in the fall. Just leave it for the next year in April again. It's much better. So
maybe here in Italy, we're the government is trying to take a decision to make mandatory, even for people with vaccination, to do a test the day before taking part to a live event or go to a theater or to a cinema. It's very strange. I think
it's very strange. Yes,
I think a lot of people like me who went vaccinated. I did the vaccination the first day I could take it, and that's the same for the second and the third shot. And if I have to do a test and pay the test myself to go to a theater, to go to a cinema, you know what? I cannot afford to spend the $40 to watch Matrix 4. I will watch it on TV this spring.
Yeah,
I would like to go to watch Matrix 4 in the theater, but I cannot afford to spend $40 to go to the cinema.
Well, that's true. That's true. I'm interested. I didn't even know till today that there's a new Spider-Man movie that came out. I didn't know about that. I don't know if it's any good or not, but it's some of the stuff that Marvel's put out. I used to be a big Marvel fan, but recently it's been like not as interesting to me for some reason. But I am interested in seeing that 6-hour Beatles movie, Let It Be, that they did on HBO. Was it HBO? No, it was Disney Plus. Peter Jackson from Lord of the Rings, I guess he did that. And he cut together 57 hours of Beatles footage from their legendary, the last year of the Beatles. He put together a 2-hour part documentary. I'm anxious to see that, but I don't subscribe to Disney. It's like 1 month I subscribe to Netflix, then I cancel that, then I subscribe because I watch everything, all at once, all the shows that I want. Then I'll go ahead and next month will be. In January, I'm going to be subscribing to Apple Plus because there's a couple of shows I want to see there, but I'll wait till they come out. And then right now I'm on Hulu, and I'm really surprised at some of the quality stuff they have. I've been on them for like 3 months in a row now, but I canceled Netflix for the first time in years. I said, I don't need anything right now. I'm going to watch Hulu stuff. So.
We did the same, and because there's a lot of stuff to watch, and sometimes the quality is lowering, especially Netflix. So we like a lot Money Heist, the La Casa de Papel in Spanish,
right?
And
right.
I'm liking a lot Arcane. It's an animation, and it's an animated series. I think one of the best direction for an animation I ever seen. I love it.
Is that right?
Yeah. And but my next switch is for Apple TV, and then I go back to Prime Video is for 4 years, so I do not need to cancel and resubscribe.
Right. Yeah, well, the thing about Prime Video is it comes along if you get Amazon Prime, and I order so much stuff through Amazon. We get Amazon Prime, period. Both my girlfriend and I, we get one account, so we already have where do you have Amazon Prime? That's true. We always have that one available. But here's one suggestion that I make to people. If you're going to be doing this a la carte, getting the apps and stuff and different programs, it's really good to go through the Apple TV app to get your subscriptions. HBO, YouTube, not YouTube, is it YouTube on? I don't know if YouTube, Netflix, all that. And I'll tell you why. Because you pick up your iPhone and you tap on subscriptions, and all of your subscriptions are on your iPhone in one place. You can cancel at any point just with clicking a button. You can see when they expire. You can put them back in place if you want to. Everything, because right now, if you don't, you got to go to HBO to cancel. Where do I cancel HBO? Netflix, I got to go to Netflix and cancel. Where do I go there? Disney Plus, where do I got to go to Disney? No, you can do them all in one place on the iPhone. If you do it through Apple TV, if you subscribe, it doesn't cost anymore. Doesn't cost. There's no difference in prices, but the convenience is far, far better. You can manage all your subscriptions. I got my Hulu subscription on here now. I can just go in there and see when it expires. It tells me the date. It tells me you just flip a switch to cancel it. It'll cancel the next renewal date. So that's the way to manage them. Personally, that's the way I would do it. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I was saying that I landed my Apple TV to my parents, so they can watch football games.
Okay.
And I use another media center, Sky. I don't know if you have Sky in US.
Not Sky. No, we don't have Sky.
Okay. I use a Sky box to handle all these subscriptions, so it's quite perfect. It's not as good as Apple TV, but it works, and so
right. Right. Alex, I think we've covered everything. Did we miss anything?
I don't think so. For me, it's 10 p.m. and I'm I want to I'd like to have a dinner.
Oh, I'm sorry. Absolutely.
No problem. I married a woman from the south of Italy, so we usually to have dinner very late in the night.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to give away more of your apps during this week. Thanks to you, we have those to give away, so they'll be given away before Christmas. So everybody, stay tuned. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we're coming on. I think tomorrow. We're having a little Christmas get together with some Final Cut Pro people. So stay tuned, everyone. Alex, I want to thank you. You, as usual, you've been on. I think just about more than anybody on this show. So,
and I'm very honored.
No, absolutely. I love having you on.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to all your audience. And I would like to use this 10 seconds, last 10 seconds, to wish everybody Merry Christmas or
Merry Christmas.
Whatever you think about it. And a very better 2022, because we need a little rest.
Yeah, we did. Things will get back to normal. They will get back to normal. I was telling some friends, I had... every so often, I bring my Australian friends on the show. We had an Aussie Final Cut TV live last week because I had to do the show at 6 a.m. in the morning here. And it was 10 a.m. at night there. So that's the only way we can work it out. So anyway, I had them on, and I was saying to them, I was listening to Carly Simon's song, Anticipation, this last week. And the one line in that song that really got to me was, "These are the good old days." And it's like, you can't you can't say, I'm going to wait for the good old days. No, the good old days are right now. So when we were together, like my friends, Australian friends, were together in 2019 at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. If we never have another Creative Summit, those were the good old days. We were right in it, and we didn't really see that they were the good old days. So that's been haunting me ever since I paid attention to that one lyric. I didn't realize what she was saying, but now I am paying attention. We're going to give Philip Allen a copy of your app. How about that, Philip? He came on at the last minute. We'll give you a copy. Everybody who want a copy, make sure you contact me, and I will get you the information you need. Thank you so much, Alex. We'll talk to you again.
Thank you, Richard. Have a nice Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, too.
Good New Year.
Absolutely. Good New Year. Thanks.